It was an early evening in the tiny Irish village of Turlough. The sun hung low, casting a warm golden glow over the emerald green fields. 11-year-old Maeve loved to wander through the woods after school. The forest was her favourite place, where the rustling leaves and birdsong felt like magic. At its heart stood the ancient oak, a tree so massive and old that even her grandmother whispered stories about its magical powers. Maeve paused under the oak, running her fingers over the rough bark. Suddenly, she heard a faint whisper. "Maeve, Maeve, help me." Her heart skipped a beat. She spun around. The woods were silent, except for the soft chirping of birds. "Who's there?" she called. The whisper came again, and this time, it seemed to come from the oak itself. Maeve took a step back, her curiosity outweighing her fear. When she placed her hand on the tree, a soft golden light spread across its bark. Slowly, a glowing outline of a door appeared, and as if responding to her touch, the door creaked open. Maeve stepped inside the hollow tree and gasped. The room inside was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Celtic symbols, spirals, knots, and animals glowed faintly along the walls. In the center of the room sat a tiny man with a long snow-white beard, wearing a green cloak and a pointy cap. He looked as ancient as the tree itself. "I've been waiting for you," the little man said, his voice warm yet weary. "Me?" Maeve whispered. "Who are you?" "I am Fergus," he said with a bow of his head, "the guardian of this ancient oak. I protect the heart of the forest, the heart of the oak. But it has been stolen." "Stolen?" Maeve's eyes widened. Fergus nodded gravely. "A greedy spirit named Balor has taken it. Without the heart, the forest is dying. The trees will lose their leaves, the animals will vanish, and the streams will run dry." Maeve clenched her fists. "That's awful. How can I help?" "You're brave, child," Fergus said, smiling for the first time. "But Balor is dangerous. He hides in the ruins by the cliffs, and he won't give up the heart easily. You must be clever, strong, and true." Fergus handed her a delicate silver necklace with a tiny shamrock charm. "This will guide you when you're lost. Trust your heart, Maeve." Maeve began her journey at dawn. With Fergus's words echoing in her mind, she walked across rolling green fields and crossed sparkling brooks. The forest seemed quieter than usual, almost as if it was holding its breath. A robin hopped onto a branch nearby, chirping brightly. Maeve tilted her head. "Are you trying to tell me something?" The robin chirped again, then fluttered ahead. Taking it as a sign, Maeve followed the bird. It led her through thickets and past wildflowers until she reached the edge of the woods. Ahead, the land sloped down into rocky cliffs, where an ancient stone castle stood in ruins. The air was colder here, and the wind howled like a warning. Maeve clutched the shamrock necklace around her neck, her heart pounding. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. Inside the castle ruins, shadows stretched long across the stone walls. Maeve stepped cautiously, her footsteps echoing. Then she saw him. Balor. He was a tall, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes and a wicked grin. In his hand he held the heart of the oak. The emerald pulsed faintly, its light dim and flickering. "Well, well," Balor hissed. "A little girl? You think you can take this from me?" Maeve stood her ground, though her knees were shaking. "You have no right to steal the heart. It belongs to the forest." Balor laughed, his voice rumbling like thunder. "And why should I care about the forest? The heart's magic is mine now, but—" He leaned closer, his red eyes gleaming. "If you want it, you'll have to solve my riddle." Maeve swallowed hard but nodded. "What's the riddle?" Balor's grin widened. "Listen carefully. I'm not alive, but I grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. I don't have a mouth, and yet I drown. What am I?" Maeve thought hard. The air felt colder, and she could hear the distant roar of the ocean waves against the cliffs. She clutched the shamrock necklace, hoping for inspiration. Then it came to her. "Fire!" she shouted. "The answer is fire!" Balor's grin vanished, replaced by a furious snarl. The castle walls trembled as he roared. "You may have won this time, girl, but you haven't seen the last of me." With a final burst of black smoke, Balor disappeared, leaving the heart of the oak behind. Maeve picked up the emerald, its warm glow spreading through her hands. "I did it," she whispered. Maeve raced back to the ancient oak, cradling the heart in her hands. As soon as she placed the emerald into the hollow of the tree, a wave of golden light spread through the forest. The trees rustled with new leaves, streams bubbled to life, and animals returned, chirping and chattering joyfully. The forest felt alive again. The trees rustled with new leaves, streams bubbled to life, and animals returned, chirping and chattering joyfully. The forest felt alive again. Fergus appeared beside her, beaming with pride. "You've done it, Maeve. The forest is saved." Maeve looked up at him. "Does this mean you can rest now?" Fergus nodded. "Yes, the forest has a new guardian now, you." "Me?" Maeve gasped. "You have the heart of a protector," Fergus said. "Wear the necklace always, and the forest will thrive under your care." From that day on, Maeve visited the ancient oak every day. The villagers noticed how the forest seemed healthier than ever. The trees greener, the harvests richer, the air fresher. Maeve often sat under the great oak, watching over the forest. She knew Balor might return someday, but she wasn't afraid. She was the guardian of the ancient oak, and she would protect its magic for as long as she lived.